Hi and welcome. Photoshop has an amazing new sky replacement tool that is going to blow your mind. Now, sky replacements used to be hard to do. You needed quite a lot of Photoshop skills to be able to do it and make it credible, make it look as though it was a proper sky that was photographed on the day. Now, you could use third-party plugins, but then you need to learn new skills and you need to learn how new plugins work, and it's not in Photoshop. Well, all that's changed now. In the October 2020 release of Photoshop, replacing a sky is now easy peasy. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, now replacing a sky in your image is quite simple. If you've got the right tools, it's a breeze. But getting it to look credible, well, that's a different matter. If your photos don't have a relationship, then they're not going to match. You know, you've got to take into account other factors such as the direction of the sun, the intensity of the light, and perspective if you've got clouds in your image. So there are things which will help you to create a really realistic composite. So let's just have a look at some of the relationships that you might look at in trying to get that creative composite to look good. Okay, first thing to consider is the direction of the light. It's no good having your foreground with the light coming from the left and your sky with the light coming from the right. It just won't work. The shadows won't look right and it'll just not look credible. So firstly, we have to figure out where the sun is, because it needs to be more or less the same place in both of the images. And we can do that by just looking at the shadow line here. So I've got my brush, I'll just paint you a little. If I just go along that line now, like that, whoops, a little bit higgledy-piggledy, but you can see where I'm going. I can tell that the light, or the sun, is somewhere up here. It's probably off the image here somewhere, but it's up in that direction, and it's coming down in that direction. So now we know where the sun is in the foreground image. So when we're looking at choosing a sky, we need to take that into consideration, that if we may have a slightly lighter area of sky at this side, and it will all help to make your composite look credible. Next thing we need to look at is the quality or the intensity of the light. You can see in this image here that it's quite soft and diffuse, the light. There's no hard shadow edges or anything. So it's obviously it's coming through the clouds in one, so it's not got any really intense light on it. So if we then put a really dramatic sky into there, it's just not going to look right. You know, they don't gel. The lighting conditions on the two are so different that the brain says, well, they couldn't possibly have been taken on the same day with the same camera. It just couldn't happen. So those two, the sky and the foreground, just could not exist. And that's a really important thing to consider. What is the lighting like? And finally, we've got perspective. Now this is really, really important. Now if we wanted to replace this sky here, there'd be no point us trying to replace it with a sky like this. And this one was taken shooting vertically up, because the perspective's all different. Rather, what we need to do is to find a sky that does exhibit the same perspective. And this one, we can see that we've got some clouds, but they get smaller and a little bit less distinct as they go into the distance. And this is what is the perspective. And this is why I always try when I'm shooting my skies to get a little bit of the land on as well, so that I know that in any case the perspectives, they're going to match. Okay, let's see how that all works. Well, it's got its own menu now, the new sky replacement feature, and it's in the edit menu and down to sky replacement. And here we've got the sky replacement dialog. Now we'll start off, we've got some tools. We've got a brush tool that we can actually use to brush in if there's any parts that you want to remove or to add. And we've got a hand tool which lets us move around when we're zoomed in. And we've also got a zoom tool. The main part of this is obviously the sky dialog. And if I click the little down arrow here, Here we can see I've got lots of skies. I think it's 25 come preloaded from with the new version of Photoshop. At the top here, these are the last skies that you were playing about with. And all we've got to do is just go down and we just one click. So if I click on that one, just wait a second, bump, we've got our sky replaced. And you can see what a good job it does, because it's not just replacing the sky, it's actually getting a really now soft transition at the bottom. We can actually click and drag and move this sky if we want to move it round. Let's try another couple. We'll try this one. Now that one doesn't look too bad, and we can say drag and move that around, and then we can play with different things. We've got shift edge. Now shift edge is, are we bringing the sky into the foreground or the foreground into the sky? So basically if I shift the edge that way, it's bringing the blue sky into the foreground. If I take fade edge, sorry, if I take shift edge the other way, then it's going to do exactly the opposite. So it's now bringing the foreground into the sky. So we're getting a faded effect just here. And then we have got a full fade slider here where we can fade that effect that's going on that background. So we can fade that in like that. And shift edge, I think we'll bring that back to somewhere the middle, somewhere like that. And you can see that now if I'm fading, I can fade the blue, and what it's trying to do is bring some blue into the foreground for me. I've got some sky adjustments specifically that I can adjust the brightness of the sky, and I can adjust the temperature, so I can make it warmer or I can make it cooler. We've got a scale, so I can make it bigger and scale it up and then move it around till I find a place that I think I'm happy with. And I can flip it. So I can flip it round from one side to the other really quickly just to see if one way works better than the other. We've got some foreground adjustments. We've got two lighting modes, multiply and screen. And multiply is going to be darken. So if I move my lighting adjustment right over, you can see that it's darkened the top edge, and what it's doing is it's bringing some of those tones into the foreground again. And if I do it the other way, then it lightens the foreground. I think I'm going to go again somewhere middle for diddle. And then we've got a colour adjustment, which again brings a little bit of the sky colour or a little bit of the foreground colour. So you can lighten it a little bit with the colours or darken the colours a little bit. And that's all there to try and give you a pretty good match. And you can see what it's done. It's done an excellent job of masking out all this bush here. Absolutely fantastic. Now you can also add your own skies. So again, if we go into the actual skies dialog, if we go down, we can see at the bottom here, we've got the trash can, we've got the plus icon, and we've got this little folder icon. That's the group. So you can actually make some groups for yourself to help organize. So if I wanted to do that, I could say, well, I'll have this one and I'll call it Ken's Skies. There we go. Oh no, that's not skies, is it? No. Let's get my K in there. The skiles. Well, I'm not doing so good today, am I? Ken's Skies. There we go. And I click OK. So now I've got a folder. So wherever I get a sky, I think, oh, well, I'll just add one to that. So I can find a sky on my computer, and I can open that up and give it a name, Ken Blue, and then click OK. And then that now is in my Ken Skies folder. And if I want to take any of the others into there, I could click and drag and drop it in. So now I've got two that are in my Ken Skies folder. Isn't that not cool? And then when we've done all that, we can just click OK. But first we need to set the output. We've got output to new layers. We've got an option, or we can duplicate layer. The new layers options is pretty magic, as you'll see when we have a look at it. And then I'm going to click OK. And now you'll see the magic that in the layers panel now, every effect, every slider we've dragged, it's created a layer for us. And here we've actually got the mask, so we've got a really accurate mask. We've got the foreground lighting, which is basically the transition between them, all as a nice soft mask. And then we've got the foreground colour, and it's put us on an adjustment layer, which is the curves. And from here we can adjust the lighting. So if it's not quite right when it's come out of the sky replacement dialog, then we can adjust all these in Photoshop, which is pretty amazing. Well, that's it for our quick introduction to the new Replace Sky feature in the October of 2020 release of Photoshop. I really do hope you enjoyed that and you got something out of it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up or leave me a comment in the more area under the video. And well, I'll see you in the very next video. Bye for now.